kids to bed seems to be one of the most challenging tasks for many parents. Dr. Elaine Ducharme is a clinical psychologist from Glastonbury, Connecticut, and she joins us with tips for beating the bedtime blues. Dr. Ducharme, thanks for being back with us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Always nice to have you here. So kids will whine, they'll cry, they'll kick, they'll scream. They just don't want to go to bed. Why?
Well, there are a lot of reasons they don't want to go to bed. I mean, they don't like the separation, they don't like the transition, and so, you know, all kids will, for the most part, they'll put up a little bit of a fuss. Some kids, on the other hand, will put up a huge fuss, and this will go on for hours, and that's when we really have trouble.
Okay, and so then it looks, you have to look at the parents and see what are the parents doing to make this behavior continue.
Yeah, and part of it is, you know, we have a lot of working parents where both parents are working outside of the home, so they get home, and they may just be getting home right when the kids are about to go to bed or shortly before. They don't want to put their kids to bed right away. They want to have time with their kids. They feel guilty if a child is saying, "Mommy, but I missed you all day," you know? And what do you do? I mean, you know, it really tugs at your heartstrings, and you want to go in and lay down with them and talk. So those are a couple of the issues. The other, some parents just are really bad at setting boundaries. Okay, no matter what we're talking about, it's not just bedtime, it might be mealtime. They really have a hard time setting boundaries, and we really have to help them with that. The others are parents, and that probably includes most of us, that are very tired at the end of the day. So by the time we put the kid down to sleep and they want their back rubbed and they want snuggle time, the parent falls asleep with them and ends up staying there all night, and that can really set up some really bad precedents, because the kid then learns not to fall asleep on their own.
Why is it so important that a child sleeps in their own bed?
I think this is one of the things that I say to parents. It's like my number one rule of please do not have the kid in your bed. Kids need to learn to self-soothe. They need to learn to be quiet by themselves and to feel that there's a safe place. If they don't learn to do that when they're little, you're going to have kids that are 7, 8, and 9 that are just screaming at bedtime and can't figure out how to be quiet. All of us, we all need to be able to remove ourselves from the busy world and have a safe place to relax. A couple of other things people don't think about, Ashley, are it can be sexually arousing for kids to be sleeping in beds with their parents. There's some controversy about this, but if you think about it, you know, little boys as they're growing up and they're rubbing up against their moms, and I've worked with enough adults who have had these experiences and tell me it really was arousing. They don't have the word sexual to apply to it. Or the little girl rubbing up against her father, who during the night becomes aroused on and off, and she doesn't understand what's happening. So they, you know, very unconsciously, we really need to make sure that kids have their own beds. It's safer. Parents have been known to roll over onto a child, a young, small child, and crush them or cause them to not, you know, obviously to suffocate them. So I just think all around, best idea is to have kids learn how to sleep in their own bed, comfort themselves. And, you know, Sunday mornings, great time to have them come in your bed and snuggle and everybody cuddle. That's a whole different
These are things parents don't always consider. So it's nice to hear, you know, exactly why it is so important.
Yeah.
What is the key? What is the key to helping them go to bed and not fuss about it?
Okay. The key is to remember that you are the parent, okay? And to keep that control and to say, I'm going to set up a structure and I am in control and this is what's going to happen. If you don't feel comfortable in that authority, it's not going to work. So you have to be prepared to listen to some crying for quite a while. The reality is that if you do this and you really get firm about it, your child will be going to bed by themselves within 2 weeks. It is so easy to do. It really is. And parents just give in all the time. And so they keep running up and down. And then it takes months. So they'll say, this therapy's not working. This is just silly. But honestly, if you're very structured about it and you work with a therapist if you're having trouble doing it, a lot of people can do it on their own. But if you're really struggling, if you do this, it's one of the easiest things that we can help kids learn to do.
And those 2 weeks will pay off in the long run.
They really will. I mean, this is either 2 weeks of a lot of crying and yelling and kids asking for water and kids doing this and in and out of the room, and then coming into your room in the middle of the night. Return your child to their bed immediately, because if you don't do that, you really, it's the difference of 2 weeks of, you know, sort of a really difficult time or a lifetime where everybody gets good sleep.
So you may have covered some of these already, Dr. Ducharme, but if you wouldn't mind just going through really quickly some of the do's, some of the don'ts, so parents know what is right and wrong.
The do's are put your child in bed, but establish a nighttime routine. Okay, so whether it's with, you know, all age children, whether they're infants, preschoolers, toddlers, even up to teenagers, have a routine. So that might include a bath or a shower, brushing your teeth, a nighttime story, rubbing their back, And some of the things you can let your kids have charge of is, what order do you want to do this in? Do you want to put your pajamas on before you brush your teeth? Usually the bath comes first. Do you want to sit and rock for a little while? Let the kids have some choice over it, so that especially the younger ones are trying to have some control. It's perfectly okay to lay down with them and rub their back. Because it's a really soothing time, and some kids are really tense and stressed from the day, so you can help rub their back and relax them. Sitting with them is a great opportunity to talk about their day. It's a great quiet time when there's no distraction. Just be sure you're not falling asleep while you're doing that.
Right, yeah.
You know?
Which
read to them.
be hard to do.
It is hard. Read to them. It is one of the best things. And one of the big ones that I really want to stress is get electronics out of your kids' rooms. Don't let them go to sleep really listening to their iPods or watching their, playing with their iTouches because they're playing games. The lighting on those things actually is very stimulating and keeps kids awake. So unless you're doing a very specific relaxation kind of thing with them, that their part of treatment is letting them listen to that on tape before they go to sleep, get rid of all of those electronics and have them in the kitchen recharging, so that when they wake up in the middle of the night, they aren't just getting on them and playing again.
Yes, exactly. And I guess that could go the same for parents as well.
Absolutely,
to help go to bed and relax. Well, it's something that a lot of parents struggle with. It certainly is a challenge, but you offer some great advice, Dr. Ducharme.
Thanks. And I guess the last thing I would just say is don't give up. This is something that really is doable. And have heart. If one of the parents is able to do it more readily than the other, let the parent that's having trouble go out for coffee while the other parent puts them to bed and get back, and you avoid the screaming. But you can do it, work as a team, and you'll all sleep better.
Wonderful, and that's what everyone wants to hear, right? How can we sleep better?
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here, as
You're
always.
welcome.